Welcome back to the podcast. We have another beautiful guest here with us today, Melanie Bonk, who is a somatic sexuality and relationship coach, a fellow Vita graduate, fellow Vita teacher and coach. So welcome. I'm really glad you're here with me.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
I am as well. This is going to be so fun. So we are diving in more into Tantra and what that means for you, for your clients, for each of us. And we're just going to play here and go a little more round table and see where it goes. Because as you know, if you've been listening so far for the last, I don't know, 5, 6 episodes on literally the same theme, what is Tantra? It
Mhm.
is different for every single one of us, which is so amazing. That is how we get to take these philosophies and principles and bring them into our lives, into our relationships, into the bedroom, into our businesses, into our parenting, into our friendships, all of it. There's so much and so much juiciness, I guess, that we can play with in here.
Mhm.
So, yes, well, let's start with you, Melanie, introducing fully you. Like, who are you? What do you do? Let's go
Yes.
from there.
Thank you. Yes. So I'm a somatic sexuality and relationship coach, like you said. I work with both individuals and couples, really bringing them into the world of their own sexual sacredness. And for an individual, that might be coming in with trauma, with just a desire for more, a desire to really fall in love with their own body, their own spirit. And then for couples, I guide them into deeper communication. I really teach them the tools how to use communication as this soulful skill set so that they can actually prevent arguments from happening before they even begin. I help them up level their emotional intelligence so they actually understand their inner wounding, their triggering. And again, this can be so beneficial in long-term partnership because you can really see your partner for where they at. You know their history. It's like having this manual to your lover and their emotional body. And then the third area I guide them in is sexual rediscovery, where we really ditch all the things that they've learned, all the conditioning, all the stories, all the imprints around sex, where it gets kind of mushy and gray and icky and sticky and constraint. And we really open up the vibration of what it is that they want to experience in sex, love, and relationship, this cosmic flow of pleasure that can happen between individuals and couples together. So it's a really beautiful,
Mm.
juicy ride that we go on together. And I am just their curious coach who's encouraging them to go deeper, feel deeper, really unlock what is holding them back. And it's a beautiful job. I'm so grateful that this is in my life.
Yes, 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 yes. You are talking my language.
Mm.
That is exactly what I love to do and who I love to work with as well. Women, specifically one-on-one, but also into couple work and to
Mhm.
playing. And there's so much in here to play with
Yeah.
couples and to help us heal relationships and communicate better and release shame and deepen into real true intimacy where we're outright seen, literally seen for every single part of us that wants to be seen, that's always wanted to be seen, that we've, put away because we haven't, thought it was good enough or not quite able to show up this way. But to be seen on this level in relationships and to have that intimacy and that vulnerability and then that connection in
Mm.
sexuality is so delicious. So
Mhm.
delicious.
Yeah. And I want to just add on to, I do love working with men. And I'm like, I think there's some kind of karmic destiny with me working with men. I have 4 boys. So I am in this house full of young men rising up. And I think it's so important to unlock their emotional
Yeah.
body. The more kings we have on this planet, I think the higher vibration this planet will be. There will be more peace, more love, more joy. So really like having men really up level their emotional body, understanding that it's okay, that they've got just as many feelings and emotions as women do. And it's like this liberating act that they can do to actually feel inside their body.
Thank you for naming that because, yes, that's obviously an extremely important part and it's needed. It's needed. I
Mhm.
have 2 adult men now, I guess, 24 and 21, and a daughter who's 18, but it is needed as well. And I see that in relationship and I see it over and over actually, where even with women clients, where they're ready to call in this king and it's just really tricky to find men that are emotionally available and able to. And I noticed that for myself for a long while as well. And yet, I also see over and over, the more women also align and do their work, the more they up level and welcome in these kings who are willing
Yeah.
to play and to learn and to deepen. I think that's why we've already connected even pre-show, a little bit of like, oh, like play with couples and deepen
Mhm.
and take them through this work, because you don't have to be absolutely perfect to start into, not even at all perfect. What am I saying? To start into this work, to start into this journey, as long as you're open and curious and want to play and see what's available for you in real, true, connected relationships, partnerships, friendships, parenting, you name it, all of it,
Mhm.
clients, every
Mhm.
single relationship we have, even with the woman or the man at the grocery store. Like
Yeah.
it's the way we connect and the way we show up. So I would love to go back and a little further into what brought you here. What is your story, please?
Oh, yes. Well, I have been in partnership for 25 years. And when I came together with my husband 25 years ago, um, I really looked at relationships a little bit differently. I was a little bit younger. We were in our 20s. But once we kind of settled down and we knew that this was a path that we wanted to go on together, this journey of life, I really communicated with him. Like, I grew up in a divorced home. I was torn between parents. They were arguing. They didn't necessarily, there was no co-parenting strategies in the 80s. And
Been
even
there.
my, yeah, even my mother, in the 60s, her parents divorced. So it was like this kind of family legacy that I was determined to break. And when I found the soul partner, that I could feel with my whole body, and I knew that this was it, I started to really dive into the science behind what it takes to have a thriving relationship. And throughout our history together, we actually began to really heal our inner childhood trauma together, not not even back then having the language to even understand what we were doing, but we were doing it together. And so
Mm,
throughout the years, we kind of became that couple who people looked up to, who people came to me for advice, for relationship advice, for sex advice, because sex has always been a barometer of our relationship health. So I knew if we weren't having sex for a certain amount of time, or if it was really kind of like heady and we weren't in our bodies, that shit was up. Shit was either up with me or shit was up
mm,
with him. And so it was like a red flag to say, like, hey, what's going on inside of you? What is, what's in your heart right now? What's alive for you? So then I saw that there was a training with Layla Martin, and I kind of actually looked at my husband. I'm like, man, when the kids are gone, I think this would be a really amazing opportunity. This might be what I want to do. I don't want to go back to my corporate job. And he's like, no, you need to do this now. Like, this can change lives now. And so it was actually his
mm.
support that um, brought me into the training. And it was a pretty funny little side note. In 2019, I am really connected to my witchiness, to my intuition, and I think that happens when women are connected to the power of their pussies. So in
Yes.
2019, I'm like, you know what? We have our dream home. We are on a river surrounded by mountains in a beautiful state, but let's sell everything. Let's sell everything we own, and let's go RV with our kids while they're young. And like, so we put our house on the market in 2019. In January of 2020, we bought our truck and our trailer. And so we spent COVID
Wow.
outside in the wilderness. And that's just like some of the testament that you can follow your body's intuition, because I had no idea,
Yes.
obviously, what was going to happen.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yes, and I
Yes.
totally relate and connect to it is okay to trust body, pussy,
Mhm.
intuitive hits from your pelvic bowl that are telling you this is the right way, this is that. It's actually how I make my decisions in my
Yeah.
everyday life, in my parenting, in my relationship, in my business. Pussy is calling the shots because
Yeah.
there's this deep intuitive body knowing that goes way beyond our brain, way beyond our brain. When we can reconnect somatically to our body, clear any triggers that might be in our way, because if our triggers are there, they're going to play a little bit of a competition with actual
Mhm.
true inner knowing truth, right? But when we can clear that and trust that, that is so, so good. So, yes, I love that you did that. I
Yes.
love that. And I loved that you use the word barometer, how,
Mhm.
your sex life was your barometer. That is
Yeah.
such a beautiful way to explain it, as to what's going on in the relationship. And I agree. That's so beautiful.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes. And I want to even come back on how that the pussy intuition, when I was just actually kind of, my kids came to me with something kind of like, it was a little shocking and I could feel my nervous system react. And I'm like, you know what? I need a little bit of time with this because I was so heady and I was in fight, flight, freeze or fawn, where I knew I
Mhm.
wouldn't be giving them the compassion and the space and the heart that I wanted to give them. So like having that awareness, having that consciousness and pulling back and saying, I actually need a moment to connect back to my body because it's hijacked right now and my nervous
Mm.
system is freaking out. And then when I came back to the situation, when I was grounded in my body, grounded in pussy, grounded in my heart space, you can create as a parent such a different conversation around
Yes.
meeting your kids where they're at and being that open-hearted, compassionate parent that they really need.
Yes. That they're secretly crying out for, but won't dare say. Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally relate to that. It's, I've been doing, living from pussy literally since 2017 when I first got introduced to that was the Mama Gina world in the beginning. And that day, within 4 hours, it was like, holy shit, where has this been? And I was such a good girl. I'm gonna be honest. I was such a good girl, a good mom, right? Following. I'm using good and being sarcastic a little here too, because there's air quotes in there because that
Mm.
is not what I want to be and not what I want to do. And I see that now. I was people pleasing. I was overgiving. I was depleting myself and making sure that everybody else was taken care of and not speaking my truth. So that was my good mom, put in a box, making sure I was perfect, right? A lot of perfectionism. And within 4 hours of being literally in the Mama Gina room, it was
Yeah.
like I looked at my 2 sister goddesses that I met, like, the night before that we are, like, besties still to this day, and I looked at them and I was like, "I need a tattoo, and I want it tonight, and I want a pussy, and I want it on my right wrist." Like, and literally I went in New York, we were in New York, and we found a tattoo parlor at, like, 1 in the morning who would give me a tattoo. And I was
Yes.
so afraid. I was so afraid. But it was just like this, it's a remembrance, and it was a
Mhm.
reminder for me to stay in my body, to stay in my truth, to stay connected to my truth, to my pleasure, to my intuition, to my witchiness, right? And to stay embodied and know that she is literally going to lead me to the life of my dreams because she
Yeah.
knows better than my brain does because my brain's living from past lived experiences with trauma and divorce and separation and parent conflicts and so much other trauma that's around it, right? But body will always show us the right way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always.
Oh, I just want to reflect back when I was in the same environment, different location. And I think it was day 2 or 3 of our retreat. And I was like, I need a tattoo to like, I actually made it a pleasure vow to myself. And I put it on my ring finger
Mm.
of my right hand because I was marrying myself. And the
Yeah.
whole the tattoo artist came to the parking lot and we did it in the parking lot. And the whole walk to the parking lot, which was about a mile, I spoke out loud to myself and to the jungle, to nature. And I vowed the whole way, I vowed to show up for myself. I vowed to never put myself and my pleasure in the back seat. I vow to
Mm.
like have this connection to my body every day. And it was so ceremonial. And I love my tattoo still.
I love that. I love that. I'm seeing this total theme of it is through the body. We have to
Mhm,
come back into our body to
mhm,
find our truth because I think for too long, this society is like head, 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 go, 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 more, 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 more. It's
mhm,
all about money. It's all about status. It's all about keeping up with the Joneses. And actually, I saw one of our sisters from Sex Love Relationship Coaching, like from the Vita group today, post a little thing in Facebook talking about raising babies. Maybe you saw it already. I mean, raising babies in today's society. And she's got, one on her chest and two beside her, and she's loading the dishwasher and she's struggling, right? Like
mhm.
we're not supposed to do this alone. It's so
Right.
disconnected. We're
Mhm.
so disconnected from our bodies. We're so disconnected from our truth. And we're pushing and competing and trying to be better and trying to be perfect. And it's leaving so many people of all genders feeling like they're lost, feeling like they're disconnected, feeling like they don't know why they're here, feeling like they're stuck on a hamster wheel, depressed. Like if it keeps going for too long, it moves into depression, body pain, illness.
Mhm.
It definitely, that was my calling. That was what happened for me back in 2017. I was like hitting rock bottom, and it was like, there has to be something more. And you said this in the beginning, people looking for more. I speak to it a lot. It's like there, and all I knew was there was this one part of me saying something's wrong with me. And there was this other part of me going, there has to be something more. There
Mhm.
has to be something more. This cannot be it.
Mhm.
And I think that's the biggest thing Melanie and I are here to say today is
Yeah.
it's not it. There is
Yeah.
so much more,
Mhm.
so much more. But we have to kind of cross the bridge when it feels really, really scary, because I know, both of us sitting here talking about sexuality, if you're watching this in a reel or listening to the podcast or on YouTube, you can be sitting there going, oh, this is cool. I want this, but I have to watch this in secret. I can't
Mhm.
have the audio playing where somebody might be able to hear me. I remember that. I did that. Right. But so you have to be willing to cross the bridge and have enough courage to trust the calling from within that's telling you there is more.
Yeah, and I think the thing that especially women need to do is embrace and relearn that selfish is a great, beautiful, important thing. So it's
Mhm.
a selfish act to claim this radical pleasure in our bodies. It's a selfish act to actually have these full body orgasms. You can't be thinking of anybody else or caring for anybody else to have this amount of pleasure, to have this connection to pussy. And we are so trained as women to be givers. Ourselves always last. So if you learn anything from this podcast, it's relearning, starting to rewire the fact that being selfish is a gift that you get to give yourself. It is not something that is bad that you try to avoid at all costs, because I know that's how at least I was raised, where it's everybody else first. And I was that mom at the dishwasher, like struggling, not knowing, disconnected, snapping super fast.
Angry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was too, yelling. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I'm so
Oh,
regretful to that. I
yeah.
wish I'd done some of this work sooner, right? Not
Mhm.
when they were 11 and up. I wish I'd
Yeah.
known this path so much earlier. And I
Mhm.
think there is a change in generations where they're starting to get interested earlier. I see it in my oldest, who's 24, and his ex-girlfriend, who I'm still great, great friends with, who's also 24, right? There's this shift. They want it now. And I'm so
Mhm.
grateful they want it now, because
Yeah.
we can't keep going this way. It's
Right.
killing us.
Yeah,
It
and
is killing us.
as parents, we're the leaders. So that's why I do think it's so important to have just as many open conversations with your kids as can, because you're their biggest learning tool.
Yeah.
If it's not us, they're going to go to the internet, and that's a downward spiral.
Very downward, because then we go to porn, and then it goes
Yep.
even less connection and less pleasure and
Yeah.
erectile dysfunction and so many different things that come from that, and more shame, which is actually killing us also, right? So it's
Yeah.
time to take the leap and start to lean in to our
Mhm.
pleasure. It's interesting. There's a few points you shared a few minutes back that I wanted to speak to with my partner. He's reflected. He never played with tantra before me, right? So in the last 10 months that we've been together, he's reflected that he's never seen a woman be so in her pleasure, like so connected. We're talking like he can just kiss me and I can literally start to have orgasms. Like it starts
Mhm.
very energetic orgasms, right? But they can start up, they can play, nipple gasms,
Yeah.
throat, whatever it may be. It can be a shiver just touching down the side of my body. And yes, you're feeling it, right? Like
Yes.
that is the play that we get to play with. And sure, that shows up in the bedroom and it is freaking amazing. But it also shows up in our relationship and communication, in our fights or arguments. I'm not even going to call it a fight, because we don't fight, honestly. We haven't really fought yet. It could be a disagreement or an argument, or one of us is triggered and the other one like just literally sits. And it's like, what do you need? What do you
Mhm.
need? And you mentioned that earlier. That's what brought me back to the men, because he's never been asked, what do you need before? So in the
Mm.
beginning, it actually was taking him a little bit like, what do you mean? What do I need? It's not about what I need. What do you need? It was like, no, what do you need too? Right? Like actually holding these conversations and making sure that our needs are met in everyday life. So this tantra lens like holds so much incredible relationship. I don't even know what to call it. I want to say stuff, but stuff isn't the right word.
Juiciness.
Juiciness. It's so juicy. Like it's so juicy. It's so thick and intense and amazing and awe-inspiring that this is what we need. This is what we need raising other kids. This is what we need to show modeling to our children of these
Mhm,
kind of relationships that are outright healthy, really, truly healthy.
mhm. Yeah. Definitely, and I think the key to all of that is having that creating that space, like you said, like, no, what do you need? And giving and then not I know, like, I'm a fixer, so if my husband is just kind of expressing something that's frustrating him or something that I could easily see the answer to, my instinct is to just, like, fix, 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 and so I've learned to just pull back and just to hold space, and that is just such a gift that you can give each other. So holding space
Mhm.
means you're present in your body. You're not in that cortical part of your brain thinking and fixing and trying to this or that or shame or judge or take it personally. You're just listening with open heart, with presence, grounded. And so that's one of the key things that you can really start doing in any relationship that you're with, whether it's with your partner, with your kids, with coworkers. And you can make that shift and just listen, and you'll notice the relief that that person who's sharing with you has. You can see it in their body, like, oh wow, I'm actually being fully seen and fully heard, without anybody
Mhm.
coming back and trying to just fix me or shame me or judge me for what I'm feeling. It's a beautiful gift you can give somebody.
It is huge, and I can't even put words around it because it is that huge. It is life-changing. I think it's something that each of our inner children, as soon as we receive it, we're like, "Oh, wow. Thank you." And
Mhm.
thank you doesn't even cover it. It's a way of just being seen and being understood and being accepted for exactly who we are, and
Mhm.
that deepens a relationship beyond
Yeah.
anything, in my opinion, beyond anything.
Mhm. And
You
having the
know, you can
tools
show up.
yeah,
Yeah.
having the tools to even just say, "Actually, I just need you to hold space right now." And that simple sentence changes the whole conversation, because you could
Mhm.
just be like talking, 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 and then all of a sudden something comes up. This happened the other day, and it was kind of I just needed then to just vent and let it all out. And I just said, "Actually, I just need you to hold space." And he has the emotional intelligence. He has the ability to ground where he didn't take it personally, where he understood
Mhm.
exactly what that meant, and he could provide that and meet my need. It was just beautiful. And then I'm like,
Mm.
"Oh, thank you. Oh my goodness, I feel so much better."
Yeah, it's really changing the dynamic of how we feel and how we show up for the rest of the day and for the rest of the week. Same thing happened to me Monday night, I think, literally, and he just saw me and he opened his arms. He's like, "Come here." Like, and he knew I just needed to sob on his
Mm,
chest.
mm.
And I did for quite a while. And then later that night, we were watching a movie and I pushed pause. I'm like, "I need to do that again." And he was like,
Ah,
"Okay." Right? Like I
yes.
just needed another release and to be held and witnessed and seen in that. And that tenderness that was feeling really uncomfortable within me because of the circumstance, and it wasn't even with him, it was outside of him with one of my children. And it
Mm,
was like, "Okay, I'm good now." And now I'm grounded, and then I could actually go back to my
mhm,
daughter the next few days, the last few days, and have a different conversation from a different compassionate, I've got this lens because I've already released what I needed to release, my grief around it, my fear, my hurt, all of that. And to be held and seen in like I get that from sister goddesses a lot. I have a great group, but to be held and seen by a partner
mm,
in that way is very different. Would you
mhm.
agree?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. It's a different level of intimacy to really be held and seen that way. And it's beautiful. And unfortunately, we are not taught this. These are not tools that, and I love having these conversations with my partner because he's like, "What the fuck? Like, why don't men know this? Why don't
Yes.
we know this?" And I'm like, Women don't know it either. These are
Mhm,
tools and practices that come through the tantric lens that are just the tools and practices that would allow us to learn how to coexist and to relate and to hold space and to love and to be compassionate and to connect together.
Mhm.
They're so, so beautiful.
And all of those tools, everything you just mentioned, that's what leads, I really think, to this spiritual connection,
Mm.
which just is this divine connection where, no matter what, you're going out there in the world and you're spiritually connected to another human. You're never alone. Like, we definitely have those moments where I'm like, I was really thinking, pick up milk, pick up milk, pick up milk. And he's like, I didn't know why, but I just grabbed some milk as well while I was at the store, like that, like kind of intuitive nature. We are really owning, and we're not just negating that anymore. It's our spiritual connection. And it goes so much deeper than picking up milk. But that's just a really, it's really easy
Yes.
example of it.
Yes. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of creepy sometimes at points. You're like,
Hmm.
and I do this with my partner. I do it with my bestie who lives in California. She's really far away. We do it all every single day. It's crazy in text, in voice text, whatever it may be. And I also do it with my daughter. It's really cool
Yeah.
how you are connecting. It's like
Hmm.
this infinity loop that is going
Hmm.
between body to body, and you can't explain it, and you don't need to explain it. You just need to trust it.
Yeah. Yeah. And once you start trusting it, then it's like, oh, it's all there all the time. And when I don't listen to it, I regret it every single time.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So what are some of your favorite tools that you love to bring couples into? Like they might be sitting listening going, okay, but what are you going to make me do? Are you going to make me get naked? Like what's going to happen here, right? Like let's dive into some of that. We'll talk about what
Yeah.
both of us kind of do with our couples.
Yes. Well, I always start out, like I said, with soulful communication. So whenever I work with couples, we are really starting first and gaining the tools to really speak to each other, to understand each other's language, to understand that those holding space techniques. And when you have those tools to really communicate, because think about it, every word you say, it affects bodies. You can hear a certain sentence and it's like you got hit in the gut and it like just takes your breath away. That kind of like, ugh, icky sentence.
Yeah.
Or you can hear a sentence and you're like, my clothes are already off and I'm on, like, let's do this. You can hear a sentence and it just lights you up from head to toe. So that's why I really feel like our communication skills need to be at a soulful level, because they do they do affect our bodies and our souls. So that's always where we start. And then after we get those tools, then we start doing some practices that are a little bit more in depth, a little more emotional in depth. I love running through meeting your inner children, this practice where each partner gets to really embody their inner child and embody the not only the wounding but the play, the like what lit you up as a little person when you were, was it connecting to nature, was it drawing, was it trucks, like it doesn't matter what it was, but finding that joy and that spark. And then when you can really embody, and if you're watching the podcast you can't really see, but when you embody it, you like begin to play, you become a little bit lighter, and you really get to see that magic, and you get to reconnect to the spark that you had when you were little before society drained it all away. So that's
Yes.
a really beautiful practice, because then I invite my clients to actually play with each other with that same curiosity, with that same panache, with that same like spark and excitement. So that's kind of a practice that we do. I also guide them into really seeing and understanding the wounds that they're carrying. So obviously not so much a playful one, but yet it doesn't need to be so intense when you're gaining the tools to communicate these feelings, when you're in a safe container. So really talking about the most painful thing that your heart has ever experienced can be done in safety, and it doesn't have to feel
Hmm.
so bad. And I think that's some people are so uncomfortable being uncomfortable, where when you create a safety bubble for the couple that you're in, where they really know that they are going to be seen and heard and not judged for whatever it is, whatever they're feeling, that just allows the wounding to come up so much easier. And then when we meet it with compassion, it just starts to really rewire the neural networks that are happening, that are attached to that, and they can start to unwind and unattach themselves even to our sexuality. And then, yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes there are some naked practices. And for my clients, they turn their camera off And
Mine as well. Yeah.
I guide them in sacred yoni massages, sacred lingam massages, sacred penis massages. I love finishing when I work with couples, finishing with sex magic so they can really gain the tools to manifest their like fuck yes life through their pleasure. And how delicious is that to create the life that you
Exactly.
absolutely want to live that involves full body, head to toe pleasure? Yes, please.
Yes, there's so much. I love the relationships, like working with couples and relationships. I love showing another couple out there who are in love, who just don't have the quite tools because, again, we weren't taught it,
Yeah.
how to connect, how to communicate, how to be vulnerable, how to
Mhm.
be intimate, how to actually love and explore and bring pleasure to each other. Because, again, we're not really taught this.
Nope.
We're taught that, well, women are taught, like, don't worry, he'll figure it out. He knows what to do. And men are like, put
Right.
on all this pressure on them that they are supposed to know what to do to bring women pleasure. And they
Yeah.
don't know what the fuck to do. So we're left in this discombobulated, disconnected, turn out
Mhm.
the lights. Maybe we'll make it work tonight. Maybe we won't. Or people are drinking a lot, trying to have sex that way because they're
Mhm.
so uncomfortable.
Mhm.
So when we get all of these tools together around relationship, ugh, the whole world needs to know this. Like, if I could get on a megaphone and teach the entire world,
Mm.
we would change the world because we would
Yeah.
change relationships. We would change the way that we feel seen, the way that we feel heard, the way that our triggers come up. We would be able to hold ourselves in so much more compassion and still go ahead and kick ass in our businesses and in our
Yeah.
parenting and in our whatever it may be. There's so much more.
Yeah.
And it would lower the divorce rate. It would
Sure.
increase the marriage rate. It would increase the happiness rate. The
Mhm.
overall happiness would go up 1,000 times.
Mhm.
1,000 times. I know mine has.
Mhm. It's such a trickle down effect. If you are happy and passionate in your partnership and you are experiencing rich, delicious pleasure that is actually the pleasure you want to be experiencing, it trickles down to every other aspect of your life. It always
Yeah.
starts with that. The happiness, the
Yeah.
joy, it starts with this beautiful connection in sex. Mhm.
It takes something so mundane as cooking dinner. We have a
Yes.
blast
Right.
cooking dinner,
Yes.
right? Like, it's so fun to
Mhm.
same thing, cleaning the house. You can blare music and dance and like smack each other's asses and have a little
Mhm.
makeout session and go back and finish cleaning. Like, there's so much possible to make the most mundane things that are draining us and exhausting us
Mhm.
into pleasure, which brings such a more fulfilled, more juicy,
Mhm.
happier life. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Some of my other favorite tools, now you kind of surfaced over some of them. Definitely pussy and cock massage or yoni and lingam massage. They are definitely like
Out of the park.
top notch, out of this world.
Mhm.
And once you practice it a couple times with a video, which I actually like to give my clients also a recorded audio file, so they actually have a library in
Mhm.
there where they can continue going back to these practices for themselves. I think that's really helpful because once you practice them about 3 times, you
Yeah.
don't need the recording anymore.
No.
You're good to go, and then you can, adjust and tweak and play. And it's just such a beautiful way to, again, connect and honor your partner who's in front of you and just really give them some pleasure in a way that is just so beautiful. So that's one of my favorites for sure. Moving energy through body, through breath work is another favorite. And for communication and connection, the fears, loves, and desires is one that is like top notch, like
Mhm.
actually speaking your truth with each other. What are you afraid of? What do you
Mhm.
fear? And, again, it's taught in a beautiful way to hold space where you just get to speak and nobody's fixing and nobody's throwing it back at you and vice versa. And you both get a turn. And that, again, can be a life changing tool to start practicing with a partner.
Yeah.
One thing I notice, and I'm curious about you, is generally a lot of the women are game, and there's depends on the men whether
Mhm.
they're game or not. They're very, I'm don't need to do this. Like,
Mhm.
I don't need this. What do
I
you
think
notice?
one of the best answers I got from Ann was, "Well, I don't need that. I am an excellent lover." And I was like, "Whoa, you need it the most."
Yeah. What do you say to those men or what do you want to say to those men right now who are like, I don't need that. My woman's. totally satisfied.
No, I say that is your fear talking. That is
Mm,
fear talking. That is it's programming. It's okay. It's there. And it's not necessarily your truth. And so deep down in your heart, I know you're a little curious. I know you're leaning in and being like, what is she listening to right now? But yeah,
yep.
it's really the fear because there's so many expectations on men. I mean, think about a cock. It's supposed to be hard all the time, ready to go. And that's one of the things that I love debunking first, where like I love the ebb and flow of a penis. I love the hard to soft, soft to hard, hard to soft, soft to hard. Like it does not need to be this like drill sergeant hard all the time. And that's for
Yes.
sure one of the first biggest worries that men have is their performance and what it's and once we can lean in, once we can have a little bit more of those conversations. And I would like just want to whisper to like all the cocks out there, like, hey cock, it's okay. We love you. Specifically love you every single step, every single way. And there's no difference. There's no, I actually like for me, I love a blowjob when it's actually a little bit softer because I can really like play with the cock in my mouth and do a hot winch like
Mhm.
wah, wah, twist it all around. And you can't do that when it's super hard. So
Nope.
it's there's just again breaking down those society standards. The little tiny box that you're letting your sexuality live in right now is a little bit vanilla. It's a little bit and you can have
It's not
so much
accepting
more.
all of us either.
Yeah.
That's right. Not accepting the soft, which is not accepting all of us.
Right.
You in completion. You have to show up a certain way
Hmm.
to be accepted and loved, when actually, no, we're going to take those guidelines off. You can show
Yeah.
up soft, you can show up semi-soft, you can show up
Hmm.
soft for the whole time.
The whole
There's
time.
so much to play with, and
Yeah.
there can be approval and acceptance and curiosity for
Hmm.
whatever is there,
Hmm.
and that is enough.
Yeah. Yeah. And even starting to recreate what pleasure is, because you can take orgasm off the table. Just be with your partner, experiencing pleasure together, no matter what that looks like. Today, that just might be like running
Yes.
fingers slowly down a back and playing with a little bit of energy and lightness. It does not have to be cock and vagina that equals orgasm and that equals pleasure. Really, again, taking it out of that box and opening it wide up, taking orgasm off the table. Woo, what a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. My partner and I have been talking a lot about foreplay per se in the last week, because he actually gets it now, where he's like, foreplay is actually where it's at. What the fuck?
Yes.
Like, we haven't been taught, because we can play for a few hours of
Hmm.
play. And when you take orgasm, because I've learned to do that over the years, off the table,
Hmm.
what is possible? 30 plus orgasms, energy orgasms, full body orgasms, exquisite pleasure that doesn't stop for the
Hmm.
entire play period.
Yeah.
And it does the exact same for him. It turns him on so much to just watch me being that turned on,
Hmm.
that he's like, yeah, I don't need an orgasm. We're good. Like,
Yeah. My husband
sure, I'll
says that
take it, but
so
don't
often
need
now. He's
it.
like, no, I don't need an orgasm. I'm fine. This is great.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, there's so much play there,
Hmm.
and so much play and so much available to us.
Hmm.
And as I've shared before on other episodes, this is only like 8 to 10% of tantra people. Like, this is just the little 10%.
It's just
There's
the tip.
so there's so much more available. And this alone can change your life, because as you said earlier, Melanie, when you change how you're being seen, when you change how you're being accepted and loved, and you're able to show up as your full self, and you are happy, really truly happy, your entire life changes for
Yeah.
the good.
Hmm.
For the good. It's just like, holy damn.
Hmm.
I couldn't have
Yeah.
imagined a better life.
Yes. Oh, so good. I just want to invite, if you are listening and you want to start kind of diving into a little bit of this embodiment and somatic stuff that we're talking about, start small and just start like with a sensual dance. And for
Mm,
women, I suggest starting that for yourself with nobody else around. And
yes.
like taking that, putting the toes in the water of selfishness, where I'm going to dance, I'm going to let my body move, I'm going to really let her loosen up. I'm just going to put on a really delicious song and I'm going to dance for me. And it can start
Mm,
out small and just let your body take over. And that's just a
mhm.
quick way you can start to really just feel what it's like to be in your body, because so many of us are just in the head going through the day to day, and just a 3 to 5 minute song can change your whole day, shift everything.
Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. And then you wanna take it up a level? We have music on all the time. Like, we have music
Yeah.
on when we're cooking, we have music on every night, we have
Mhm.
music on when we're cleaning, we have music on in the car, and just dance, just
Yeah.
play. One of
Yeah.
my favorite things is, we'll just meet across the room some random time in the night, it's not planned, and we just connect, whether it's third eye to third eye or his lips to my third eye or cheek to cheek, and just, again, move to the music.
Hmm.
You're just standing there hugging almost, but
Hmm.
just feeling, being with each other. And at the same time, he can be sitting and I could just be like dancing, like being full out, like fucking around and having fun, dancing to music. Like, why not?
Why not?
Why not? There's
And
so
you,
much play
yeah, and
available
you
to me.
you don't need alcohol. Like, that's such a big.
No, we don't drink.
Yeah, we
Neither
don't
of us
either. We
drink.
yeah.
Might as well state that in now. I haven't, I had a couple drinks at New Year's of champagne, but for the most part, like I do not drink anymore ever since I got COVID. It really bothers my menopause symptoms. I get major headaches with a single glass.
Same.
So just don't do it anymore. So
Yep.
yeah,
It took
there's
it took me diving into like this radical act of self-love where I'm like, wow, I am literally poisoning myself. I feel so
yeah,
terrible. I have headaches, and it wasn't like this big declaration. I'm like, I love myself and I
yeah,
love my body too much to do that anymore. So
yeah,
it's such a like, well, I only dance when I'm drunk. Blah. Like
no,
that is out there for sure in people's bodies. So just giving yourself
yeah.
permission.
It used to be in my body, so I totally get it. I totally
Yeah.
get it. There was no way
Mhm.
I was hitting a dance floor unless I was drunk.
Yeah.
So, totally get it. Now I can dance around the kitchen, I can dance around the trailer, I can dance around at the lake, it doesn't matter. I am dancing, I am playing. Life is too short not to.
Yes.
So, let's dive in here a little bit too, because if people are listening, they're like, "Okay, I want more, but I want more than dancing." What are their options? What do you offer right now for couples?
Yes. Well, right now I am launching a hot summer date night series in August. So if you're listening, you can visit my website, www.melaniebonk.com. And there are 4 different date nights, 4 different Tantra themes. You can sign up for one individually, or you can sign up for the whole series at a discount. I also offer couples coaching. So my coaching package is called Love and Libido in Flow. And it's like I mentioned before, where we really get those soulful communication tools. We up level emotional intelligence, and then we go into sexual rediscovery and reprogramming. So it is so delicious. I also
Yes.
have a few freebies on my website for all genders. So you can go ahead and check out, sign up for a freebie, and you get a somatic practice delivered right to your email list. So lots of
Beautiful.
options out there for just wanted to try out a somatic practice to I want to dive into this tantra world and have a delicious guided safe date night in the privacy of my own home. You can have that, and you can also have the one-on-one private coaching.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And similar for me, I also offer private coaching where my clients can come on a call where we're meeting a couple times a month and taking you through these practices and
Mhm.
communication tools and ways to up level in the bedroom and out. And then I'm also starting Tantra date nights for couples in person, though. So I'm so excited to
Yes.
be doing this. By the time this episode airs, there will be happening at least once a month. And there are gonna be a couple of levels. So there'll be some like an intro and then a level 2 and then a little bit more of like a retreat where we'll be going deeper into some of these tools because there's also such a juicier vibe that I know I love and appreciate when I can get to an in-person retreat and be like really fulfilled and like just there's such a different level that comes from an in-person that I am deeply craving myself. So that is also what I'm going to start offering for couples. And, yeah, that's gonna be super fun. They're gonna be super small, only about 8 or 10 couples. That'll be it. That I'll be actually hosting in my own home because I have a beautiful big room behind me. And then also at the same time, there's lots of freebies on my website. There's, a sex magic practice, there's grounding and balancing tools. There is also a podcast earlier on this year on fears, loves, and desires if you wanna, start playing with that tool. There's lots of options to start playing with either of us. And yeah, all of our links will be down below in the show notes. So either way, if you have questions, I know I offer a complimentary call. I'm sure Melanie does as well, if you want to get to
Yep.
know and ask questions and see what is out there and how it works and so forth. So we will share those links. And let's get you supported, whether you are on your own or in relationship and you want to go deeper and you want to learn how to infuse Tantra into your relationships. Let's talk.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So good. Well, that feels complete for me. Does that feel complete for you today, Melanie?
Sure does. And I just want to add in, if you want to learn more, you can also follow me on Instagram at Bonk Better. I'm super shadow banned for saying words like pussy and orgasm. So any follower is greatly appreciated.
I love that you changed it to bonk better. That is
Yep.
so freaking awesome. And I am also shadow banned because that's what happens when
That's what
you
happens.
are a sex, love, and relationship and tantra coach. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'd appreciate the follows as well. It's at Get Your Sexy Back Coach with underscores in between all of those words. And let's continue to share the word and spread the word and get more couples to be in their bodies and in their relationships and have the most juiciest,
Mm.
empowered, orgasmic lives ever.
Yes. Yes.
Ever.
Bye bye.
Beautiful. Till next time, everyone, I hope you had a great day and we'll see you soon.